Order. Senator Walsh, you will be in continuation when debate resumes. Questions about notice. Senator Wong.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Health, Senator Colbeck, and I refer to reports that advice provided by ATAGI is that AstraZeneca should only be recommended for use in people aged 60 and over. I ask the Minister to confirm in this place that this is the first time the government has been advised in any form that the AstraZeneca vaccine should not be a preferred COVID-19 vaccine for Australians under the age of 60.
The Minister representing the Minister for Health and Aged Care, Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr President. Thanks, Senator Wong, for the question. Can I advise the Senate that the Health Minister received this morning, or today, the 17th of June, advice from ATAGI that indicated that the COVID-19 Pfizer vaccine is the preferred vaccine for those under 60 years of age. The recommendation was revised due to a higher risk and observed severity of thrombosis and thrombocytopenia syndrome, TTS, in the 50 to 59-year-old age group than reported internationally and initially estimated in Australia, Mr President. And I am reading from the ATAGI advice that was received this morning or today. For those aged 60 years or above, Mr President, I'm saying that we received this advice today, Senator. So for those aged 60 years or above, the benefits of receiving a COVID-19 vaccine are greater than in younger people. The risks of
Order. Senator Colbeck, have Senator Wong on a point of order. Senator Wong.
Thank you, Mr President. I thank the Minister for reading out what is on the public record. The question we actually asked was whether or not this was the first time the government had been advised in any form that the AstraZeneca vaccine was not the preferred COVID-19 vaccine for those Australians under the age of 60.
Senator Wong, I've allowed you to restate and re-emphasise the question. I believe while the Minister is specifically talking about such advice, and he did talk about the day in which it had received, to instruct him any more strictly would go to how to answer a question, which I cannot do. So if the Minister is sticking to the advice and the timing of it, then I believe that is directly relevant. Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr President. My understanding, my advice, is that this advice was received and decided at a meeting of ATAGI this morning. So this is when we have received this advice today, Mr President, and we have at all times through the duration of this pandemic followed the health advice and we've taken action once we have received that advice, Mr President. So this correspondence came to the Health Minister from ATAGI today, and as I understand it, very quickly after that advice being received, the Minister has made his public statements with respect to that advice.
Senator Wong, a supplementary question.
Will the Minister guarantee that the Australian government will have sufficient supplies of other vaccines to ensure all Australians who want a vaccine will be able to get a vaccine by the end of this year?
Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr President. Thanks, Senator Wong, for the question. Minister Hunt has confirmed this morning, and I'm happy, or this afternoon at his press conference, and I'm happy to confirm that our objective remains to make available to every Australian who wants a vaccine, wants access to a vaccine by the end of the year, that they have access to that vaccine, Mr President. That's been our statement all along. That was confirmed by Minister Hunt this morning, Mr President, and was also confirmed by Lieutenant General Fruin, who is also assisting with the vaccine rollout, Mr President. So we have significant supplies of vaccine coming into this country, Mr President, and the objective remains that every Australian who wants a vaccine will have access to one by the end of this year.
Order. On my left, Senator Wong, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Final supplementary. I refer to reports that Pfizer approached the government 12 months ago offering Australia the opportunity to be among the first nations in the world to have access to the Pfizer vaccine. Is that right? Why did the Morrison government fail to secure an early agreement for Pfizer vaccines when it had the chance?
Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. The advice that I have is that, Mr. President, Pfizer has at all times met the agreed delivery arrangements that they have provided to us, and we consequently have real confidence in the projected deliveries that they are proposing to provide us through to the end of the year, Mr. President. I don't have any further information with respect to the reports that Senator Wong refers to. I'm happy to take that notice and come back to the chamber.
Order. Order. Senator Henderson.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Birmingham. Can the Minister inform the Senate on how the Morrison government's economic recovery plan is working to create more jobs and strengthen Australia's economy?
The Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Birmingham.
Thanks, Mr. President. I thank Senator Henderson for that question. A strong champion of small businesses across Australia, and I know deeply concerned to ensure the security of employment opportunities for all Australians. And, Mr. President, against a backdrop of enormous global uncertainty, global pandemic, the first in 100 years, indeed an economic shock to the world, the greatest since the Great Depression, our government has sought at every juncture to ensure the economic security of Australia and Australians and its economic recovery from the shock of COVID-19. Our budgets handed down last year and this year framed the direction for our economic recovery plans to make sure that we kept as many Australian businesses as strong as possible, as many Australians in work as possible, and that we continued to grow employment opportunities wherever possible. In the face of these enormous global uncertainties, it is pleasing to see the strength across the Australian economy, Mr. President. Australia's economy today is now larger than it was going into the pandemic. This is a feat that no other major advanced economy has achieved to date, to have recovered their economy to a bigger size than it was pre-pandemic. Over the last 3 quarters, we've seen some growth of 8.7%, the strongest growth in Australia in more than half a century, Mr. President. And today we have seen the dividend that creates for Australian and Australian workers, with the unemployment rate falling to 5.1% in May. There are now fewer unemployed persons in Australia than there were prior to the pandemic. We have seen jobs growth of 115,000 people for the month, well above expectations, demonstrating that across Australia the economic recovery is going strongly and creating opportunities for Australians.
Senator Henderson, a supplementary question.
Can the Minister outline some of the key job-creating measures that underpin the government's economic recovery plan?
Senator Birmingham.
Well, Mr. President, in the last budget we announced our plan to get more people back into work. Budget projections to show 250,000 further jobs to be created, and that plan is working. It's working strongly. It's underpinned by policies that drive investment by the private sector across the Australian economy. Our full expensing measures, all about encouraging Australian businesses to invest in their competitiveness, their productivity, and creating jobs for Australians across those sectors, and it's paying dividends. We've equally, of course, put money back in the pockets of hard-working Australians and their families by bringing forward income tax cuts, by providing the financial support for families to be empowered to make their own decisions and to get and keep more from their hard work. And on this side of the chamber, we are resolutely committed to lower taxes as a continued driving vehicle for economic growth, for business investment and to support Australian families, and it's a stark contrast to the uncertainty
Senator
on taxes
Birmingham.
of those opposite.
Time for the answers expired. Senator Henderson, a final supplementary question.
Minister, can you outline how the government's commitment to reducing taxes is creating more jobs and is strengthening Australia's economy?
Senator Birmingham.
Well, Mr President, we're providing 10 million low and middle income earners with additional taxation relief to help with the economic recovery, to help create the support across the Australian economy to keep this jobs growth going. And, Mr President, the jobs growth we're seeing and the unemployment rates that have been achieved, it's little wonder there's a fair bit of silence from those opposite, because, of course, we can all recall the mayhem and catastrophe, the doomsday predictions that were coming from those opposite, the doomsday predictions of those who said that, of course, millions more would find themselves on unemployment, that millions more would be in difficulty. Those opposite, Mr President, had no faith in Australia, Australian businesses, Australians, or the economic plans that have been proven to work. Economic plans that have been proven to work, Senator Wong. I know it breaks your heart to see record numbers of Australians in jobs, but we are proud to have record numbers of Australians in jobs and to have the Australian economy coming back so strongly.
Has expired. Order. 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 Senator Sheldon is on his feet. Senator Sheldon.
Good, thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Agriculture, Senator Ruston. In recent days, the Morrison government has announced significant changes to the Working Holiday Maker scheme and arrangements for foreign workers. The United Kingdom's Department of International Trade has published a glossy document boasting that, and I quote, "Aussie firms will no longer have to prioritise hiring Australian nationals first." Why is the Morrison government taking jobs away from Australians and giving them to UK citizens?
The Minister representing the Minister for Agriculture, Drought and Emergency Management, Senator Ruston.
Well, thank you very much, Mr President, and I thank Senator Sheldon for his question. Well, given the information that's just been provided to the chamber by Senator Birmingham, I think we should all be delighting in the fact that we're seeing more Australians back in work than before the pandemic. And, you know, we should all be celebrating the fact that we have got an unemployment rate of 5.1% today. I mean, who would have thought when we went into the pandemic that the economic recovery in this country was going to be so strong as to see 5.1% unemployment in Australia, and in the home state of Senator Cashew, sitting next to me, down to 4.4%, getting very, very close to full employment. But making sure that we provide a balance and ensuring that Australians who wish to get into the workforce are able to take that opportunity is a very, very important platform of the Morrison-McCormack government's economic policy. We want to see every single Australian who is able to work in work. And that's why we have put in place so many programs, particularly in recent times, as we come out of the COVID pandemic, through the Job Maker programs, making sure that we've got skilling and retraining programs to make sure that Australians who find themselves without work have a pathway back into the workforce. But we also hear, on the other side of the equation, that we are finding businesses that are struggling to be able to get employees, and we need to make sure that we provide them with a pool of resources so that they can get workers. That in no way denies that our absolute fundamental policy position of this government is to make sure that Australians who are unemployed—
Senator Keneally, on a point of order.
The question is relevant, and the question was quite specific from Senator Sheldon. The British government has said that Aussie firms will no longer have to prioritise hiring Australian nationals first. The minister hasn't addressed the question.
Senator
Why is the government giving away Australian jobs?
Senator Keneally, the latter part of your point of order there means while the minister is talking about the matters she is, it is a quite wide-ranging part of the question at the end that Senator Sheldon asked. So I think that while the minister is talking about— Senator Wong.
Clarify, Mr President, which is the wide-ranging bit?
Why is the
Morrison government taking jobs away from Australians and giving them to UK citizens? It is clearly about one issue.
Well, if the minister's talking about prioritising jobs for Australians, I don't think this is not a time for a broad. Can I finish? I'm happy to, please. I'll just finish my explanation, and people can take issue with it. I view that question as giving the minister some latitude to answer and to challenge it and to explain why they are doing the opposite. As long as it's not a general commentary on the unemployment or employment market, if the minister's talking about why they disagree with that question or talking about prioritising in government policy, I think I think that's relevant. Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The Australian government will always prioritise jobs for Australians. We will always prioritise jobs for Australians. We want to make sure that every Australian who wishes to have a job is able to—
Senator Keneally.
I seek leave to table the 10 key benefits of the UK-Australia Free Trade Agreement, where it clearly says Aussie firms will no longer have to prioritise hiring Australians first.
I have allowed. Well, I have. If I'm. I can only deal with questions in the. Sorry, Senator Birmingham, you're on your feet.
Well, Mr. President, I was just going to respond. Senator Keneally well knows the protocols and etiquettes in relation to the tabling documents in this place. If she wishes to follow those protocols, then of course the government will look at it in accordance with those protocols, rather than seeking. You have sought leave. You haven't shared the document with the government, to my knowledge. It's
order.
You're waving a document around the government has not seen. You know the protocols. If we were doing the same, you would deny leave.
The clerk has advised me that one can't interrupt a speaker to seek leave to table. I was not aware of that particular procedure. Senator Wong, to your point, I can only deal with. Oh, please do. Oh, sorry, I thought I was dealing with it.
Well, I hadn't actually stood to make a point again. My point is, if you read it that broadly, Mr. President, with all due respect, the minister to do precisely what she is doing, which is to engage in parenthood statements, we all will prioritise Australian jobs. It is unsurprising that you are then going to get a response from the opposition seeking to table documents. The direct relevance means dealing with the issue at hand. Just because something says jobs doesn't mean a minister can stand up and answer a question by saying we all love jobs.
Okay. Can I? Order. Order. On the. We're wasting. I'm happy to rule. I've taken submissions. Now, on the point of order, I can. On the point of order, can I answer Senators McKenzie? I'm not complaining about the opposition objecting to the nature of a question, Senator Wong. I've allowed the opposition to restate and to make emphasise the part of the question and to take points of order. I was just pointing out to Senator Keneally that I was corrected by the clerk. I wasn't aware that you couldn't interrupt to seek leave. That was something I learnt. When it comes to the point of order, I can only deal with questions the way they are asked. I submit, Senator Wong, that you are asking me to go to the content of a minister's answer and how they might answer a question rather than whether they are directly relevant. When a question is, why is the government, if I read it correctly, taking away jobs from Australians in favour of someone else, the minister is entitled to say otherwise. And as long as it's not a general commentary on unemployment or employment, I think when the minister was talking about that bit, when the point of order was raised, that constitutes direct relevance. There's an opportunity to debate the content and of answers after question time and whether or not the chamber thinks the content of those answers is sufficient or satisfactory. Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And to be directly relevant to Senator Sheldon's question, the Australian government will always prioritise Australian jobs.
Order. Your point of order, you are seeking leave?
Mr. President, I seek leave to table the document from the United Kingdom government that I have just cited here in the chamber, that Aussie firms will no longer have to prioritise hiring Aussie nationals first.
Is leave granted? Yes, leave is granted. So, Senator Sheldon, a supplementary question.
Good, thank you. Well, yesterday, when announcing the new agricultural visa, Minister Lilliprowd stated it would both, and I quote, Littleproud, there you go.
Order.
This is what he said, I'll mirror the existing seasonal worker program, and it is really an extension of the working holiday scheme. Given these are entirely different standards and requirements between these programs, which is it?
Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, both of the programs to which Senator Sheldon refers are very, very important programs to support Australia's agricultural sector. And in announcing yesterday the agreement that we're putting in place with our ASEAN friends to make sure that we are able to support Australian farmers who are often looking for labour and unable to fill their labour shortages in Australia, I think it is an exceptional initiative for us to be able to support our region, support people in our region, but at the same time support our farmers who are crying out for labour at the moment.
Senator Wong on a point of order.
Thank you, Mr President. The point of order is direct relevance. The question goes directly to whether or not this new agricultural visa will mirror the seasonal workers program or extend the working holiday scheme. They are different schemes with different conditions. So we have not asked about those existing schemes. We've asked whether the new scheme, which architecture will it follow. So I would ask you to remind the minister that she is not being asked to give us an explanation of why the SWP or the working holiday visa are such great things. She's being asked to explain the new agricultural visa.
And on that point, if I'm being asked to order the minister to go to explain the differences, I think that is going to the content of an answer. However, to be directly relevant, let me finish please, Senator Wong, to be directly relevant, because it was a tightly worded question, the minister must speak about the new scheme. But I can't direct the minister to answer about the content or the type of answer, which is when you're asking about differences. The minister can be directly relevant. Well, Senator Wong, I'm listening very carefully. I will admit this is not an area of policy that I am as aware of detail as others in the chamber, but I'm listening very carefully. I've allowed you to restate the question, and I've made my ruling. Senator Ruston, you have 23 seconds remaining.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, my understanding is that the new scheme will work alongside both the seasonal workers program and the working holiday makers, and that the details around the exact and specific details of the new scheme are currently being worked out. So I'm happy to come back to this chamber with more information around the exact details around the working of the new program.
Senator Ruston, not the order on my left. Order. Senator Sheldon, if I could have a moment, please. I know it's senators on my left. We're wasting question time, which is traditionally a period for the non-government parties. I would not have been able to rule on a subsequent point of order then because I could not hear Senator Ruston. So there is way too much noise in the chamber. Senator Sheldon, a final supplementary question.
Can the minister confirm that in recent days the Morrison government has undermined Australian workers, undermined the Pacific Step-Up and worsened the risk of worker exploitation in Australia?
Senator Ruston.
No, we have not.
No,
Senator Sheldon, we absolutely have not. What we have sought to do is to make sure that we support Australians through a number of initiatives who wish to get into work, but at the same time we also recognise that there are some sectors of the Australian economy that are crying out for workers at the moment and are unable to fill those particular positions within Australia. So what this government has sought to do is have a suite of measures that support everybody in the Australian economy, whether it be Australians who find themselves out of work and making sure that we provide them with the skills and the retraining so that
Senator
they can get
Watt.
back into the workforce, but at the same time support
Senator
our
Canavan
farmers,
and Senator McKenzie.
our farmers who are crying out for labour. So what we will do is we will continue to make sure that we address all of the issues that our economy faces going forward, and not just one of them, by making sure we support our businesses to make sure they've got employees and in support our Australians into jobs.
Senator Watt, Senator Keneally, Senator Rennick. Senator Watt, Senator Rennick, Senator Watt, remember my rule about counting to 10 after your name is called. Senator Whish-Wilson.
Thank you, President. My question is to Senator Ruston, acting for the Resources Minister. Worked very hard to make this question very short and very straightforward.
Order on my right.
Minister,
Order. Stop the clock. Senator Whish-Wilson.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, do you accept the science that burning fossil fuels is a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions and that rising greenhouse gas emissions are linked to the warming of the world's oceans?
The Minister representing the Minister for Resources in Northern Australia, Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President, and I thank Senator Whish-Wilson for his question. If you are asking me whether I'm a climate denier, Senator Whish-Wilson, no, I'm not. So, Senator Whish-Wilson, though, one thing that this government has always been absolutely clear about remains absolutely committed to is to make sure that we support Australians with reliable, affordable, dispatchable power, but at the same time—
Order. Senator Whish-Wilson on a point of order.
Just want to stress how hard I work, President, to make this very simple question. The point of order is saying you're not a climate denier is not answering the question. It was really a yes or no question, President. I asked the minister to be relevant.
Order. Just as you were trying to write a tight question, Senator Whish-Wilson, I was trying to hear the minister, but I couldn't, despite my numerous calls to order across the chamber. However, while I couldn't hear part of the minister's answer while I was calling the chamber to order, I can't accept your submission that I can direct the minister how to answer a question. I will listen carefully. You've reminded the minister of the question. I do so again. She has 91 seconds remaining. Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, I am more than happy to give you the government's policy as it relates to supporting Australians, supporting Australian industry and making sure that we also are in a position where we protect Australia's environment and also take our responsibility for the protection of the world environment as well. If you wish to ask things in relation to oceans, maybe you should be considering asking your question to the Minister for the Environment. But what I will say about Australia's energy policy is that we are absolutely committed to meet every single obligation we have, an obligation to the Australian public, reliable, affordable and dispatchable power, an obligation internationally to the targets that we—
Senator Ruston. Senator Whish-Wilson on a point of order.
On a point of order, President, with only 49 seconds to go, could I just ask the minister to answer my question?
I do think that was a fair point of order on direct relevance, Senator Whish-Wilson. Senator Ruston, the question related to the various concepts rather than government policies. So I take the opportunity to remind you, you can answer in a personal capacity or a government capacity, because it did say, do you accept? So to that extent, it wasn't a broad question on government policy. Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, I think I did answer Senator Whish-Wilson's question in my first response immediately after him asking the question, and I'll stand by that. I am not a climate denier. However, I also am a very strong believer in all of the policies that are put in place by the government of which I am a member to make sure that we meet our obligations and we support a future in this country and this world that makes sure that our environment is protected for our children and for their children, Senator Whish-Wilson. But we as a government are not going to undertake those policies at the detriment to Australia, to Australians, to the Australian economy. But we will make sure in the process of going forward into a future that I think every Australian wants, we will
Order. Senator Ruston. Senator Whish-Wilson, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take the fact you're not a climate denier as a yes to that question. Do you also accept that scientists are linking the warming of our oceans to catastrophic changes and impacts we are seeing in our marine habitats, such as 3 mass coral bleachings on the Great Barrier Reef in the last 5 years, the loss of Tasmania's giant kelp forests, the vanishing of seagrass beds around the country and the loss of thousands of kilometres of mangrove habitat are linked to climate change?
Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Once again, thank you very much, Senator Whish-Wilson, for your question. I can only answer the question as it relates to requesting me to provide you with my answer, with my opinion, which I'm quite happy to say that I am not a climate denier, and I believe that it is extraordinarily important that we make sure that we look after our environment. But if you want to ask specific questions in relation to the environment and many of the things that were in the substance of your question, Senator Whish-Wilson, related to very specific aspects. of Environmental Policy, and I do not represent the Minister for the Environment. However, I am more than happy to take on notice the questions that you have asked in relation to the environment and refer them to the Environment Minister to provide you with an answer to your question.
Senator Whish-Wilson, a final supplementary question.
Minister, I remind you that you're the Minister for burning fossil fuels, which impact the environment. Can you then explain to coastal communities, ocean lovers, tourism operators, surfers, divers, fishers right around the nation why you are responsible for releasing 80,000 square kilometres of new ocean acreage to oil and gas companies to explore for the exact same fossil fuels that are responsible for killing our oceans?
Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, I'll just point out, Senator Whish-Wilson, I am the minister in the Senate who represents the Minister for Resources, Water and Northern Australia, just to be absolutely correct about the title of the particular ministry of which you're directing this question. And as of yesterday, I answered the question in relation to the opening up of a particular area of ocean between Victoria and Tasmania. But once again,
Order.
the independent assessment of the environmental impact of anything that occurs is undertaken by an independent organisation, NOPSEMA, which I'm sure you, Senator Whish-Wilson, will be very well aware of the obligations under the NOPSEMA under the Act about making sure that they do not enable or do not allow exploration to be undertaken in a way that is detrimental to the environment in which that is being undertaken.
Order. Senator Patrick.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Attorney and relates to whistleblowers. The Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecution's prosecution policy provides a two-stage test that must be satisfied before a prosecution is commenced. There must be sufficient evidence to prosecute the case, and it must be evident from the facts of the case and all of the surrounding circumstances that the prosecution would be in the public interest. When asked about the impact of the prosecution of Bernard Collaery and Witness K on the relationship between Australia and East Timor at estimates, the acting CDPP said that that would be a step beyond the scope of the matters that we normally consider. So it's clear that hasn't been considered properly. Attorney, can you please provide this chamber with an explanation as to why it is in the public interest to prosecute Bernard Collaery and Witness K for calling out unlawful activity?
The Attorney-General, Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President, and I thank Senator Patrick for the question. And, Mr President, this matter is currently before the court. In fact, it is in the court today, so I will be very cautious in the comments that I make to Senator Patrick. Senator Patrick, you did ask questions at Senate estimates, and you were provided with the responses that you have referred to. What I can now say in relation to your question is this. The Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions considered the brief of evidence and made an independent decision that a prosecution was the appropriate course of action in relation to this case. As you have stated, this was done in accordance with a prosecution policy of the Commonwealth that requires the CDPP be satisfied that the prosecution would be in the public interest. Mr Collaery was charged with an offence of conspiracy to communicate Australian Secret Intelligence Service information contrary to Section 11.5 of the Criminal Code Act 1995 and Section 39 of the Intelligence Services Act 2001, and with further offences of communicating Australian Secret Intelligence Service information contrary to Section 39 of the Intelligence Services Act 2001. You would also be aware Witness K has been charged with an offence of conspiracy to communicate Australian Secret Intelligence Service information contrary to Section 11.5 of the Criminal Code Act 1995 and Section 39 of the Intelligence Services Act 2001. As I said, this is an independent decision that the CDPP made in terms
Order.
of—
Senator Cash, time for the answers expired. Senator Patrick, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. I understand witness K has actually pleaded guilty in the ACT Magistrates Court to conspiring to reveal classified information. Clearly the government has worn witness K down over the years, including the removal of his passport in 2013 so he could not leave this country. He of course, took that matter to the AAT. What's the current status of his passport? Will he have his passport returned to him?
Senator Cash.
Thank you. In the first instance, Senator Patrick, you have provided commentary in relation to this matter. That is merely your commentary. The government does not agree with what you've stated. In relation to the issue of the passport, that is a matter, Mr President, more appropriately dealt with by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and my understanding is they would not normally comment on the status of a person or Australian's passport.
Senator Patrick, a final supplementary question.
So we've got the government prosecuting whistleblower David McBride after he revealed war crimes in Afghanistan, which of course have been the subject of the Brereton report. There's no question what he claimed did occur. We also know of Richard Boyle, who called out the improper use of garnishee notices. He blew the whistle. He's being prosecuted. What is the public interest in prosecuting these whistleblowers?
Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President. And as I've already stated in my answer to Senator Patrick's first question, these matters are all currently before the court. What I will say, though, in relation to the two further matters that Senator Patrick has raised, is that the prosecutions, as you are aware, Senator Patrick, you asked questions at estimates, have been brought because the Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions made an independent decision that the prosecutions are in accordance with the prosecution policy of the Commonwealth.
Senator Brockman.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Employment, Workforce, Skills, Small and Family Business and my fellow senator from WA, Senator Cash. Can the Minister please update the Senate on the state of the labour market following today's ABS labour force figures and how the Morrison government's 21 budget is securing Australia's economic recovery?
Minister representing the Minister for Employment, Workforce, Skills, Small and Family Business, Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President, and I thank Senator Brockman for the question. And, Mr President, the labour force figures have been released by the Australian Bureau of Statistics today in relation to May 2021. What we have seen today is as follows. The unemployment rate has decreased to 5.1%. The participation rate, colleagues, has actually increased to 66.2%. So Australians are saying, I'm out there, I'm ready, willing and able to undertake work. Employment itself is now at a record high, Mr President, in Australia, 13,125,100. The employment to population ratio has itself increased to 62.8%. Underemployment, which we often talk about in this chamber, has actually decreased to 7.4%, and the monthly hours worked for May increased by 25 million hours. So, Mr President, what we saw in the release of the labour force statistics today was employment in the month of May increased by 115,200, and that exceeded all market expectations. There are now more than 13.1 million Australians in work, and that is a record number of Australians in employment. And when you look at where we were 12 months ago, that is a good thing, that we can stand here 12 months later and say we have a record number of Australians in employment. What it actually means is that the level of employment is now 130,300 above the pre-COVID level that was recorded in March 2020. And in fact, it's now 987,200, or 8.1% higher than the trough in the labour market recorded in May 2020. And pleasingly, in terms of full-time job creation, the majority of jobs created in May were full-time jobs.
Senator Brockman, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Amazing testament to Australian businesses and Australian workers, Minister. Can the minister outline how the government is continuing to support our labour market to recover from the once-in-a-century economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Senator Cash.
And thank you, Mr. President. Senator Brockman, it is right. You are absolutely correct. It is a testament to all of the employers out there, the employers who are working with the government, looking at the government's policies, investing in the government policies and creating more employment. And as I was saying, Mr. President, in answer to Senator Brockman's first question, in the month of May, what we saw is that 97,500 of those jobs that were created were full-time jobs. That is a good thing, and it is all due to the employers out there taking on people, giving them those full-time jobs. In fact, in Australia now, we have full-time employment at a record high, 8,965,200 Australians. And that is why, as a government, and certainly in the budget that we recently brought down, we continue to put in place those policies that businesses in Australia can lever off to prosper, grow, and as today we've seen with the labour market figures for May, create more jobs for Australia.
Senator Brockman, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to have a devastating impact around the world, can the minister explain why Australians can continue to have confidence in the resilience of our labour market and our economic recovery?
Senator Cash.
Well, Mr. President, again, when you look at where we were 12 months ago and then you look at where we are today, Treasury was modelling at the height of COVID-19 that unemployment could potentially go to 15%. 2 million Australians could have been out of work. In May 2021, what we are now seeing is a drop in the unemployment rate to 5.1%. We're seeing an increase in the participation rate. We're seeing an increase in the number of full-time jobs that have been created. And again, we're seeing employers working with the government, utilising the government's policies that we've put in place to ensure that they are prospering, growing and creating more jobs for Australians. But, Mr. President, we always acknowledge that people are still doing it tough out there. There are businesses out there that are still doing it tough, and that is why we continue to put in place those policies. For example, the instant asset write-off for those businesses who do have that ability to invest. We are saying to them, invest in your business, grow your business and create more jobs for Australians.
Senator Ciccone.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Health, Senator Colbeck. Minister, yesterday the Acting Premier of Victoria, James Merlino, said, and I quote, "Victorians have turned out in their thousands to get vaccinated, but we just can't maintain this rate without certainty about supply from the Commonwealth." Why has the Morrison government failed to give certainty of supply and forced the Victorian government to stop taking bookings for the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine?
The Minister representing the Minister for Health and Aged Care, Senator Colbeck.
Mr. President, thank Senator Ciccone for the question. Mr. President, the Australian government has in fact provided additional resources and vaccines to Victoria to assist them through their current circumstance, Mr. President. And so we've worked very closely with the Victorian government. We've supported them in vaccine supply, Mr. President. Yeah, and so, Mr. President, there are a significant number of additional vaccines that have been supplied to Victoria to assist them with the rollout. So I don't accept the premise of the question that's been put by Senator Ciccone that we are trying to starve Victorians of vaccine supply. In fact, we've worked very cooperatively to provide additional capacity and additional vaccines in the tens of thousands to Victorians so that they have additional supply to support Victorians who are looking for a vaccine. And, Mr. President, the announcement today is also obviously going to create some further challenges with the changes in the advice that were received with respect to the Pfizer and the AstraZeneca vaccines. Mr. President, we will follow that advice and we will continue to work with the states towards supporting them in the rollout.
Senator Colbeck. Senator Ciccone.
Look, thank you, Mr. President. On relevance, and I don't want to repeat part of the question, but the quote that I had asked the minister was directly from the acting premier about the lack of certainty about the supply from the Commonwealth. That was the acting premier's direct quote. And I asked him to address that part of the question.
You've emphasised part of the question. I think, with respect, the minister was talking about the supply of vaccines to the state of Victoria, so I think he is directly relevant. Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have worked very closely with Victoria to support them with supplies, Mr. President. And, Mr. President, we have provided additional vaccines to the tune of 150,930 over 4 weeks to Victoria for Pfizer vaccines. Mr. President, we've provided them 170,000 doses over 6 weeks of AstraZeneca, and we've provided an additional 330,000 AstraZeneca into our primary care clinics into Victoria, so that they can be assisted with the current issues that they're dealing with, Mr. President. We will continue to work closely with the Victorian government and all of the other states to ensure that they have the maximum available supplies to support people to get vaccinated as quickly as possible.
Senator Ciccone, a supplementary question.
Can the minister confirm that at National Cabinet the Commonwealth committed to ensuring a supply of the second dose? And why has the government failed to meet this commitment?
Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks, Senator Ciccone, for the question. The Commonwealth Government has given supply indications for vaccines to each state out over a considerable period of time, Mr. President. We continue to work with the states as those vaccine supplies are confirmed from our suppliers, and we will continue to do that, Mr. President. So we have given supply indications to each of the states. We have met those supply indications, and we continue to work with the states in circumstances as we are working with Victoria right now to ensure that they have the maximum available supply that we can provide to them to support their vaccine rollout, Mr. President. Additional 150,000 Pfizer vaccines to Victoria over 4 weeks, Mr. President. 170,000 additional AstraZeneca to Victorian state government over 6 weeks, and over 330,000 additional doses, Mr. President, to our primary care providers.
Senator Ciccone, a final supplementary question.
Thank you. How many aged care workers have been turned away from Victorian vaccination centres as a result of the Morrison government's failure to provide certainty of supply, as it promised at National Cabinet?
Senator Colbeck.
Mr. President, my advice from the Victorian government, from three sources, Mr. President, is that aged care workers remain a priority category for vaccination in Victoria. That advice has been provided to me by three sources within the Victorian government, so I don't accept that workers are not being don't have vaccine available to them, Mr. President, because I've had it confirmed from three sources within the Victorian government that they remain a priority, and there still are bookings available for aged care workers if they want to go and get a vaccine.
Senator McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Energy and Emissions Reductions, Senator Seselja. Given the importance of diesel to Territorians, particularly those in remote locations who rely on diesel to run power generations and critical machinery, can the Minister outline to the Senate the importance of diesel to our economy and what action the Liberal and National governments is taking to ensure we have an affordable and secure supply of diesel?
The Minister representing the Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction, Senator Seselja.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President. I thank Senator McMahon for the question. The Liberal National Government is taking strong action to further boost Australia's long-term fuel security, and we're doing it by locking in the future of our refining sector. Now, our economy relies heavily on energy from liquid fuels, and this will continue to grow. Diesel is our most important transport fuel, and Australians use more diesel than electricity. It's also the critical fuel source during an emergency, powering the trucks that move our food, our pharmaceuticals and our emergency services vehicles. That's why we're increasing the amount of diesel we keep on shore. Holding more diesel in Australia will increase our resilience to supply disruptions, protecting consumers and the economy from fuel shortages. We're investing $200 million through a competitive grants program to build new diesel storage. But, Mr. President, this is just part of our plan to ensure that Australians have access to the affordable, reliable and secure supply of fuel they rely on. We're ensuring we have access to the fuel we need to keep Australia moving. Our comprehensive fuel security package will also lock in around 4,000 jobs, and through both new construction jobs and protecting those at refineries. Now, the Greens may not like it, Labor may not like it, but this will be done through a variable production payment, meaning the refineries will only be paid when they need it, not when they're making profits. And our package will also enhance Australia's national security. Keep fuel prices for consumers among the lowest in the OECD. Now, the events of 2020 have reminded us that we can't be complacent. We're taking the action now to shield us from potential shocks in the future and enhance our national security. Our plan will help ensure Australia has the appropriate sovereign capability it needs for any event. We're protecting families and businesses from higher prices and supporting thousands of jobs across the economy as we recover from COVID-19.
Senator McMahon, a supplementary question. Order on my left.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister outline how the government's fuel security package will help secure the diesel that we rely on?
Senator Seselja.
Well, yes, I can, and I thank the senator for the question. The Liberal National Government's fuel security package will help secure Australia's fuel stocks through a minimum stockholding obligation that will protect our ability to produce vital fuels like diesel during an emergency. Now, in a worst-case scenario, even if oil imports are disrupted, our refineries will have the ability to provide the fuel needed to run our critical services. The minimum stockholding obligation will also safeguard levels of petrol and jet fuel and see a 40% increase in our diesel stocks from 2024 to be kept in Australia. Now, we know that this is the least distortionary way of working with industry to improve supply chain resilience and protect consumers. Delivering secure liquid fuels such as diesel goes hand in hand with ensuring Australian households and businesses have access to cheap and reliable power. All of these measures are critical to recovering from the pandemic, protecting jobs, growing our economy and keeping all Australians safe, including those in the top end.
Senator McMahon, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister outline how the government is working to build our sovereign fuel refining and storage capacity?
Senator Seselja.
Well, yes, I can, and we have. This is about sovereignty. And we have delivered on our promise and locked in Australia's refining capacity and its 1,250 employees. Now, the Greens may not like it, but with the Ampol refinery in Brisbane and the Viva Energy refinery in Geelong, both remaining in operation until at least mid-2027, and I note it's been warmly welcomed by the AWU. Now, supporting our refineries will ensure we have the sovereign capability needed to prepare for any event, protect families and businesses from higher prices at the bowser and keep Australians moving as we recover. Now, this is a key part of our plan to secure Australia's recovery from the pandemic and prepare against any future crises. This builds on the action we've already taken to boost our fuel security, taking advantage of record-low global oil prices to purchase Australia's first government-owned crude oil stocks for domestic security. We're taking action to ensure we have the fuel we need to keep Australia moving and to protect our—
Senator Kitching.
President, my question is to the Minister for the National Disability Insurance Scheme, Senator Reynolds. In defending her heartless failure to pick up the phone and personally apologise to the family of Liam Danher, after 78 days in the portfolio, the minister asserted that, and I quote, "If my Chief of Staff does something on my behalf, then I consider that is the case." Why won't the minister just pick up the phone and apologise to Liam's family?
The Minister for the National Disability Insurance Scheme, Senator Reynolds.
Well, I thank the senator for that question. And can I just say, first and foremost, in all of these circumstances, and tragically there are more than one case, my first and foremost consideration is the respects and the wishes of the family. As I have previously advised this chamber, my office has contacted Mr Danher's family, his father in fact, and offered a call or a meeting with me. It was agreed at this meeting it would best take place once more information is available and when that has occurred. The NDIA Chief Legal Counsel is reviewing Liam Danher's case and will provide a report on the detail and any learnings that the NDIA can take from this case. And the outcomes of that will be communicated to the family prior to any public comment on this
Order.
case.
Senator Reynolds, on a point of order, I have Senator Kitching. Senator Reynolds, I
have
have Senator Kitching on a point of order. Senator Kitching.
Mr President, the question was very clear. Why hasn't the minister picked up the phone and apologised to Liam's family?
And I think, with respect, I've allowed you to remind the minister of the answer. The minister is entitled to answer the question in the terms that she sees fit, and she is talking about this particularly unfortunate event, and in that sense she is directly relevant, answering the question as she deems appropriate. Senator Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr President. And as I did answer the question first up, and I'll just say it again, is first and foremost, I believe it's important for me to respect the wishes of the individual families, and including Liam Danhurst's family, and that is exactly what I'm doing in relation to this case and also to other cases that have come to my attention.
Senator Kitching, a supplementary question.
What other actions has the minister asserted were her own, when in fact they were the actions of her Chief of Staff? And if you can't answer it all now, you can take it on notice and come back to the chamber.
Senator Reynolds.
Well, I thank the senator for that question, and as you know, she's already put those questions on notice to me, so of course I will answer those in the normal course of events. As I said yesterday, and as I've repeated again today, first and foremost, it is important for me to respect the wishes of individual family members, and that is what I always do. I have directly talked to some family members where they have wished to do so and when and how they wish to do so. And
Senator
again,
Kitching,
my Chief of Staff
Senator Kitching,
acted on my behalf.
Senator Reynolds, I have Senator Kitching on a point of order. Senator Kitching.
I did give the minister an option that if she couldn't remember everything that she had said that she did, but in fact it was her Chief of Staff, she could come back and report to the chamber. But if she can give me some of that now, that would be helpful.
With respect, I think the minister did say, the minister's concluded, but did refer to questions on notice being answered as well. Senator Kitching.
It's a very bad memory,
Senator
Mr. President.
Kitching, a final supplementary question.
Given the actions of her staff are in fact her own, can the minister confirm that rather than becoming aware of Ms Higgins' allegation of rape progressively over days, as she has claimed, in fact she became aware at the same time her Chief of Staff became aware, that is, 3 days after the alleged rape, on the 26th of March 2019?
Senator Reynolds.
Well, look, thank you very much. I would argue that that is not in any way a supplementary question in relation to the Danhurst case. But as I have said in many forums, in this chamber and also at estimates, I'm currently assisting the AFP with their inquiries into these matters, and they are subject of a statement that I've provided the AFP, and it would be entirely inappropriate for me to comment further.
Senator O'Sullivan.
Mr President, my question is to the Minister for Families and Social Services, Senator Ruston. Can the minister please update the Senate on the rollout of the cashless debit card?
Minister for Families and Social Services, Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President, and I thank Senator O'Sullivan for his question. And can I also acknowledge the fantastic work that you've been doing, Senator O'Sullivan,
Senator Ruston,
to help.
Please resume. I can't hear Senator Ruston, who is as close to me as any other senator in the chamber physically, only a seat away. Can I please hear Senator Ruston's answer? Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. And can I thank Senator O'Sullivan for the work that he's doing to make sure people on the cashless debit card move along the pathway to employment. It is really important because, in your own words, Senator O'Sullivan, the government does not believe that the cashless debit card is a destination. It is a tool to help people take control of their own lives, become job-ready and get into work. Because having a meaningful job is what we believe can be a destination for all working-age Australians. Since the 17th of March, people on income management using the Basics card in the Northern Territory and Cape York have been able to make the switch to the CDC. And I'm pleased to update the Senate that the transition in the Cape York has now been completed, with all 88 people using the Basics card now across onto the cashless debit card. And the Families Responsibility Commission does a fantastic job in Cape York to help their people stabilise their lives. And I was fortunate enough to see some of the Commission hearings while I was there, where a lady in the community actually chose to go onto the cashless debit card to have some of her social security payment quarantined so she could pay for the maintenance of her home. In fact, she's one of 47 people in the Cape who volunteered to go on the card. That's people who were not required to be on it. they have voluntarily done so. In the Northern Territory to date, we've seen 108 people make the switch from the basics card to the cashless debit card. And while I was in Darwin, I was fortunate enough to sit with somebody who went through the process at the Casuarina Service Centre. And he told me that he wanted to make the switch because the CDC is a debit Visa card which would allow him to pay his bills online, have more independence over his settings on his budget, and we will continue to work to ensure people in the Northern Territory are armed with factual information about the cashless debit card.
Order. Senator Brockman, Senator O'Sullivan, a supplementary question.
Can the minister please explain how the cashless debit card is providing income management participants with more choice and freedom?
I'll call the minister to answer when I'll be able to hear her. Is there any ability to restrain oneself on the left of the chamber at the moment? Senator Rennick, please, as well. Senator Watt, Senator Ayres. Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. The cashless debit card is a debit Visa card and it works just the same as any other key card in your purse or your wallet. The only difference is you cannot buy alcohol, most gambling products or get cash. It can be used in over 1 million shops across Australia. It can be used online in comparison to the just 17,000 outlets which accept the basics card.
Order. Senators Watt and Rennick.
The cashless debit card, unlike the basics card, can be used at pubs, clubs, restaurants and cafes to buy meals and non-alcoholic drinks.
Senator
it can also
Green.
be used to buy lotto tickets and scratchies. The government wants participants
Senator
to have
Watt.
choice and freedom, and we have no issue at all with people who want to buy a beer or have a punt from time to time. This program is about helping people to stabilise their lives, become job ready and hopefully get back into the workforce.
Senator O'Sullivan, a final supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Minister, you mentioned you've been out on the ground. Can you please advise what feedback that you've received when you've been in these communities about the cashless debit card?
Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, overwhelmingly, we heard that people were really excited about the fact that they can use their cashless debit card when they travel, whether it be Cairns to Sydney to Adelaide or Perth or anywhere else. But the other issue they raised, Senator O'Sullivan, was the number of times was around the misinformation that is out there. The opposition are running an absolutely shameful scare campaign aimed at aged pensioners.
Order.
They are lying to them. Let me be absolutely crystal clear. The government has no plan to force aged pensioners onto the cashless debit card, and we will never have such a plan. The cashless debit card is for working age payments to help people stabilise their lives, become job ready and get back into the workforce. Those opposite must cease telling Australians lies. They must tell the truth, which is something that they are not doing at the moment.
Order. Senator Birmingham.
Mr President, much as it's nice to watch Senator Ruston call out the lies of those opposite, I ask that further questions be placed on notice.